Yeah.
My next passion was science and chemistry. I would make all kinds of stuff. I could even make nitrous oxide, laughing gas. And for $1, you could get 101 explosives and pyrotechnic formulas for $1. I won the grand prize at the high school, senior at the science fair.
Yeah.
I built a Wilson cloud chamber. I went to see the recruiter about going into EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, but you could not enlist for EOD at that time. You had to go to a school and get an MOS and be trained in some field, and then you could volunteer for EOD. In my opinion, EOD is one of the hardest academic schools in the military.
Yeah.
My next passion was science and chemistry. Not only did I get these military sets, I got chemistry sets, and each year my chemistry sets were bigger and bigger.
Really?
Now, I don't know if they don't sell chemistry sets like that back then today.
Probably not.
Because all the chemicals are pretty hazardous and dangerous,
Yeah.
And
You don't want people making like chlorine gas anymore.
Yeah, I would make all kinds of stuff. I could even make nitrous oxide, laughing gas, And
Really?
Yeah.
You had what you needed in the kit to make that?
Yeah. So,
Jesus.
and I also had contact with a pharmacist. So any chemicals I needed, I'd go to the pharmacist and he would get those chemicals for me.
Wow.
So in the back of Popular Science, now this is 1968, not today.
Yeah.
In back of Popular Science, they had an ad for $1. You could get 101 explosives and pyrotechnic formulas for $1.
100 pyrotechnic and
101
explosive.
pyrotechnic and explosive formulas for $1.
Yeah, you can't have that today. Not with everything that's
So,
going on.
no internet, no computer. So I sent my $1 in, and I got all these pyrotechnic and I would make them and set them off in the backyard. We lived out in the country.
You made homemade explosives and set them off in the backyard.
I made homemade black powder.
That's so crazy.
I made black powder in my room,
In your room?
Yeah, using potassium nitrate and sulfur and charcoal. That's all you need.
Did you lay anything down to keep it from getting onto your floors and stuff, or?
I would mix it up in beakers and stuff like that. And
Okay.
I did have one accident that it did catch on fire, some black powder, and I had a fire extinguisher. I had to put it out, and then.
Oh my God! Did your parents know you were doing this?
Yeah, they all came running upstairs when it went off. And
Oh my God!
so, but yeah.
This is the kind of story you don't hear a lot today because kids don't have access to the same stuff.
No, you don't have, I would make this explosive using iodine crystals and ammonia hydroxide. And you mix the two together, and this was in the formulas.
Yeah.
And you get a precipitate, and you filter the precipitate off, and you keep it wet because it's a high explosives.
Oh,
and
wow.
when it dries out, it can even detonate drying out. So you have to be really careful. It's real sensitive explosives.
Oh, Jesus.
But you would make that,
That sounds like nitroglycerin.
Yeah, so it's a primary explosive,
Okay.
but it's very unstable.
Yeah.
But I would make that, but as long as you keep it wet, it's safe.
That's so risky just having that in your house, man.
Yeah. Well, I made different other things. I made a carbon arc furnace too. I made all kinds of stuff. I got two big, huge carbon rods and put it in a porcelain pot. And then I hooked it up to, had built a saltwater rheostat and to control it, and then I plug it into the wall, because if I didn't have the saltwater rheostat, it would just blow all the fuses in the house.
Jesus.
So I would melt, had goggles on, I would melt metal and stuff like that in the carbon arc furnace that I had built. And Bill, I won the grand prize at at high school, senior at the science fair.
Yeah.
I built a Wilson cloud chamber.
What is a Wilson cloud chamber?
Well, a Wilson cloud chamber is a chamber that is super cooled, and I use dry ice and alcohol to super cool down this chamber. Then I purchased, back then you can purchase things, I purchased different radioactive sources. I had some cobalt 60. I had some lead 210, and I had some radium.
You could just buy that.
Buy that. You could just.
This is
You didn't need a license.
This is like when they used to put actual white powder inside of Coke. Like, that's what it makes me think of. You know what I mean? Like Coca-Cola.
And then in a Wilson cloud chamber, you can actually see radioactive particles like the alpha and beta particles. You can track them in a Wilson cloud chamber. And, the alpha particles leave a little vapor trail. And it's maybe about 2 inches long, and they're kind of thick. Whereas that's the alpha particle, because it's positive, it's +2. And then you got your beta particles, which are -1 electron. And they also do the same thing, but they're small and wispy. So you can actually visually see the alpha and beta particles in the Wilson cloud chamber.
And you just had this inside of your high school or something?
Yeah, in the high school, built the Wilson cloud chamber. And also you can occasionally, you got these cosmic particles that come through the atmosphere all the time.
Yeah.
And, one can go through there and you can actually see the cosmic particle that would go in through the Wilson cloud chamber.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I won grand prize. It was a team effort. My high school friend, Chuck Thomas, and I built it together.
That's funny. Is Chuck Thomas still around?
Yep, he's still around.
You stay in touch with him?
Yep, still stay in touch with him.
You guys do any other science projects since then?
No, we don't do anything. But that's, so I was science. So when I went to see, there was no climbing in the military. There was no mountain division or anything like that. But I was interested, of course, now in chemistry, explosives, and stuff like that. So I talked to a recruiter about going into EOD.
EOD was around by that point already.
Yeah, EOD, the Navy and Army set up a bomb disposal school in 1942.
Oh, okay. So World War II time frame.
Yeah. So because of, in England, the Blitz, Germany was bombing England and stuff like that. And the Germans were bombing, using delayed bombs that could go off anywhere from on impact to 72 hours later.
Oh, wow.
And so, what the Germans learned, the Germans were involved in the Spanish Civil War. They supported the nationalists in the Spanish Civil War.
When was the Spanish Civil War?
Just right before World War II.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't realize that was something that happened right prior to that.
So
So
Russia was involved. You had the nationalists and you had the Republican Party.
Yeah.
So the Russians, the communists were supporting the Republican Party, and Hitler and Germany was supporting the Nationalist Party, which is a fascist right-wing party.
So you had Republicans in Germany, and then you had the National Socialists.
Yeah.
The National Socialist Party, which was the Nazis.
Right.
Which that's the party that Hitler was in charge of, right?
Yeah. So
the Russians supported the Republicans?
Yes. Yes, the Republicans.
Interesting. I didn't realize it was kind of set up like the politics back then was very different over there.
Yeah. So Germany learned that bombs that didn't go off have more of a psychological effect than bombs that did go off. So if you drop a bunch of bombs in, say, a railroad marshaling yard, if all the bombs detonated, people could get out there and repair the railroad yard in no time.
Yeah.
But if they had bombs that could go off at any time, then it delayed the work of the repair.
Oh, yeah.
So the Germans learned that bombs that didn't go off had more of a psychological effect, that were delayed. And so they were dropping. So there was a game that the Brits developed to defeat these bombs before they went off, dig down and do that. They developed what they call a clock stopper, a magnet that would go, electromagnet that would go on the bombs to stop the clock. Then they could defuse the clock.
Okay. And the Brits came up with that?
The Brits did that.
Interesting. Did they pass that technology to us
Yeah,
then?
and we were not involved in the war yet at that time.
Okay.
So we were watching and observing. We knew that we would get involved in World War II. So we sent people over, both the Navy and Army sent people over from the Ordnance Corps to learn the art of bomb disposal prior to us getting there. So the first graduation classes of the Army and Navy classes were in 1942. Shortly thereafter, I think in July of 42, Marines started attending the Navy bomb disposal school.
In 1942?
In 1942. Okay. At first, the Navy school was at the American University in Washington, D.C. And then they opened up at the Washington Naval Yards, the bomb disposal school.
Okay.
And
how long was it there for in the Washington Naval Yard?
Until about 47, when the Department of Defense was organized.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So the school moved to the Navy Ordnance Station at Indian Head, Maryland.
Okay.
And then the Navy became, and still is, the Navy is proponent for all explosive ordnance disposal training.
Yeah.
So even though each service has their own specific type of training on stuff that they would encounter most likely, everybody goes to Eglin today. Everybody goes to Eglin Air Force Base for the EOD school there, so that we all have the same common background knowledge.
Yeah. And if you're in the Navy, isn't the Navy EOD course a little bit longer?
Yeah, well, they do the dive school. They have the dive school that they have to attend. And all three services, we learn about underwater ordnance, but the Navy goes, because it's more Navy Pacific, the Navy goes into underwater ordnance in more detail than what we do.
Okay. But every branch goes to the Navy's EOD school, essentially.
Right, today.
Okay, makes sense. At Eglin Air Force.
Yeah, and that was, the school moved in 1999.
Okay.
So I went to see the recruiter, but about going into EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, but you could not enlist for EOD at that time.
Oh, you couldn't?
No, you had to have go to a school and get an MOS and be trained in some field, and then you could volunteer for EOD.
Okay.
So the recruiter suggested I go to ammunition renovation school, the maintenance of ammunition. That would be a good stepping stone for EOD.
Okay.
Today, we don't have ammunition renovation or maintenance. Civilians do that. If ammunition needs, if there's a bunch of ammunition that has a defect and it's economically repairable, then the munitions are recalled to a depot and are refurbished at the depot and sent back out. But back then, both Army and civilians did the renovation work.
Interesting.
So, and then Code H ammunition renovation people destroyed Code H ammunition. Code H is ammunition that is determined uneconomical, that's to repair, it's past its shelf life, something's wrong with it. And so we had to go out, the EOD taught us how to blow up Code H ammunition. And then that's where I volunteered for EOD. So
what year was that?
That was 68.
Okay.
That was like in the fall of 68.
So you had already been handling ammo for
2 months.
2 months by the time you volunteered to go to EOD.
Right. Learned all about ammunition and the fuses and, that kind of stuff.
How long was the EOD school at that time?
EOD school, phase 1 was at Fort McClellan, Alabama, where you do chemical and biological, and that's 2 weeks. Phase 2 surface was at Indian Head, Maryland, and that was about 4 months long.
Okay.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
And then phase 3, I went back because you had to be E4 to go to phase 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and which is nuclear weapons disposal.
But they'd let you go to the other phases as an E3?
E3, yeah.
Okay. Did you promote before you went out to phase 3?
Yeah, I went to Tech Escort at Edgewood Arsenal and made E4 at Tech Escort, and then I could go back to go through nuclear weapons disposal at Indian Head. So
Nuclear weapons disposal is
that's
probably interesting.
about 6 weeks long.
6 weeks? Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, today EOD, the whole schooling from, you know, the different your component training to the EOD school and everything. Today it's about a year-long process.
Oh, wow.
So EOD had a high washout rate, and that's why you needed a MOS, a skill, before you went to EOD. So if you failed EOD, you could be immediately re-signed.
Okay, back to another unit that you already had an MOS for.
You already had an MOS for.
That makes sense.
So, because we had a high... EOD, in my opinion, EOD is one of the hardest academic schools in the military.
That's what I've been told too from other guys in the...
It is, you know, so it's not really physical. I mean, you got today you have the bomb suit and you got to wear that and all that. I never wore a bomb suit, you know. They
probably didn't have them back
then. They didn't have them. Never used a robot, so we didn't have them.
Yeah.
But it's academic. It's a hard school.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, that's a lot of technical stuff. You got to know science. You got to know math, right?
Yeah.